the global economy doesn't want to work despite the trillions of dollars injected. Economists say when prices go up, it's a good thing. Fiscal and monetary policies will fundamentally change and begin to take money from people. Welcome to the Coin Post. In the last 6 months, the US Federal Reserve has printed $3 trillion. And it's clear that sooner or later, Congress is gonna vote in favor of a second financial relief package, which could be $1.5 to $2.5 trillion and more, which Jerome Powell is gonna kindly print on his machine. As a result, we are increasingly hearing that such excessive monetary expansion leads to hyperinflation, and the US dollar has every chance of repeating the history of the Zimbabwean or Venezuelan currency, which was cheaper in reality. Not even like this, way cheaper than paper it was printed on. But if you look at the statistics, the US inflation rate is not going up. And the rest of the world, take Europe for instance, they are actively printing new money and on the countries struggling with deflation. It's widely believed that this is because new money doesn't enter the real market, but is immediately invested in stocks and other assets. But can it continue like this forever? And is this really the only reason that the global economy doesn't want to work despite the trillions of dollars injected? I suggest that today we work together on this issue. Check if you're subscribed to our channel and ring the bell please. Now open the Fed's website and your calculators and let's get going. If you go to the store and the thing you got yesterday is more expensive, that's what inflation is. And if you have to pay more for the same stuff, that's obviously bad. In fact, inflation is a price increase or money depreciation. But many economists argue that inflation can be good, and it's way worse when the price starts to fall. But don't jump to conclusions yet, let's examine this issue. Imagine, goods are getting cheaper. No matter what the reason, it's just that prices are going down, and people are happy buying things cheaper than yesterday. Tomorrow the prices get even lower, and the day after that, and in fact every day is like a sale, and that seems really great. But what about the economy? In the long run, people will spend less, because if prices drop it means producers earn less. Besides, people are gonna postpone expensive things like cars. Today you can take this brand new Renault for that money. In 6 months you could buy BMW for the same amount, and in 2 years maybe even a Porsche. Therefore, buying today makes no sense and it's better to wait. But within that time, the car manufacturer could go bankrupt, and it could happen like this. Getting less revenue, it will be forced to compete in the market, and the best way would be to lower the price. That is to make even less money. The next phase of saving would be cost reduction. You can open the news feed and see that the leading companies of the world, from aircraft and automobile manufacturers to airlines, banks and oil companies, are already there. They're gonna cut salaries first, but countries have set a minimum wage threshold. By the way, the United States wants to raise it to $15 an hour. That, for most other countries, is considered a huge salary. But the fact is, if an entrepreneur or enterprise reduces wages to a minimum, then they start cutting working hours, and then they lay off staff. But that doesn't mean less work, and those who are still employed will have to do twice as much. People will end up having less money, their purchasing power will fall even more, and then demand will collapse, and prices will again have to drop. So that's how deflation works, and that's why economists say when prices go up, it's a good thing, because cash turnover is increasing and people are motivated to buy here and now and build a career to increase their income to spend more money. The US and other developed countries are therefore planning to keep inflation at between 1 and 3% in their fiscal plans. And that is why the world economy is now in recession, because despite the huge monetary stimulus, we are fixing a price fall. Small as it may be, it's like 0.1%. But the deflation has already started, and we can't stop it yet. Why is this happening? Next, as we're gonna look at how inflation can be controlled. In the meantime, I'm gonna ask you to support this video with a thumbs up if you find it fascinating and useful. There are 2 ways to control inflation. The first one is fiscal policy, or simply put, taxes in various forms. It's a containment measure. If people start spending too fast and thereby push up the price above the target, it's time to take the extra money away from them. But there is another option. If the inflation rate is too low, then you can use tax avoidance. In addition, people, that is, voters, love the second way and are eager to re-elect those who reduce their taxes. Though there's a big dilemma here. Why does a country need to collect taxes if it can just print money for its own needs? And this is where we move to the second inflation control way, which is called monetary policy. In fact, it's about how much and at what price new money is created. The latter means how much interest does the financial regulator charge. This is called either interest rate, key rate, or base rate. But the point is always the same. You take a certain amount of money and you return a little bit more, including interest. True, in the US the rate is now at 0, and the Fed is against it, but they may have to lower it even below 0. So you're gonna take $100 and you're gonna give back $99. Monetary policy operates in two directions and can both increase or stop inflation. When they want to accelerate it, the rate goes down. When it's time to step on the brakes, the Fed raises the rate immediately. This is how the current economy works. When it needs to be accelerated, they make money cheaper and taxes are cut, which drives inflation rate up. And when the rate of price increase becomes too high, they make money more expensive and raise taxes. It's a very delicate mechanism though, as there is another kind of inflation, such as stagnation. It's when production falls, people lose their jobs, and the prices skyrocket like crazy anyway. It could happen for various reasons, because unemployment is also one way to control inflation. You may be surprised, but there should always be a small percentage of the unemployed on the market. Because if 100% of people are already employed, there is no way for a business to find new employees to expand. The only way to take it from a rival company is to pay more money. They, in turn, will have to do the same too, for even more money, to fill the hole in staff, and so on. All these additional labor costs will be included in the price of goods and services. Thus, it turns out that in order for the economy to work properly, some people gotta sit without work for the labor market to run smoothly. But if, on the other hand, the unemployment rate is too high, it means that businesses are shutting down, and then there's a risk of supply shortages. It will boost up prices, and where do the unemployed get the money to buy? The only answer is to get benefits from the government, which means money supply increase, which cannot be uncontrolled, because it could trigger even higher inflation rate. In the course of history, there have been examples when people get paid twice a day, and to get lunch you had to spend all the money before the evening because prices would be higher later in the day. That meant no savings or investments. You get the money, you spend it immediately, which leads to the market boom and the prices boost. The result is a vicious circle in which any action leads to higher prices followed by hyperinflation. So why is it that the printing machine is working and the inflation rate is not going up? I'll tell you about it right after you subscribe to our YouTube channel, not to miss a single bit of valuable information from the Coin Post. So putting it all together, we can say that we should really thank the COVID-19 for the fact that there's no hyperinflation in the US. Not specifically it, of course, the reason might be different, but the demand for goods and services is dropping all over the world. All governments are trying to fight inflation by giving more cash to the public. I mean those with developed economies. In the meantime, they support businesses and production by giving money to them to contain the unemployment rate and stop bankruptcy, which lead to stagnation. Thus, the current state of the global economy resembles a tightrope walker who's trying to move forward, keeping his balance. Because once you shut down the printing machine, the economy is gonna collapse, not having enough money to maintain its work. But it's essential to know when to stop and not overdo it, so that the inflation rate doesn't get too high that it becomes out of control. So we shouldn't delude ourselves that loans will always be cheap, taxes low, and unemployment benefits sustainable. Once inflation reaches its target level, fiscal and monetary policies will fundamentally change and begin to take money from people by taking the surplus from the market. And yes, I'm talking about the US first as a model economy. In other countries, they may raise taxes already to fill the budget, and price increase will be driven not so much by inflation as by currency depreciation. But we're gonna get into those nuances in the next episode. In the meantime, I would appreciate it if all of you could share this video with your friends so that they find out everything about inflation too. And I'm looking forward to your comments. Let's talk about it. And that's it for today. Thanks for watching. It's the Coin Post channel. Subscribe and get enlightened.